Can you see my screen?
Yeah, we can.
All right. So we have introduced a new version of the XSD library. You can check it out at this link. And with this version, there's a bit of an improvement. For now, we need two callbacks. There's the init callback, whereby you can just okay, these are the allowed fields. You can change the title. You can set the error. You can change the next value and the previous value. You can also say if that menu should close. The split value is how many menu items do you want to display at one time. For our case, the default value is 7, but you can always change if you want to. Maybe change to 4 or 6, depending on which type of menu you're building. The limiter is the style. So it's more of it shows you how, for example, if it's 1 and then you use this delimiter. So you can always change if you, for your case, if your countries are usually use a different type of delimiter. I know for South Africa, they use the brackets. So you can always come and change your delimiter style. The continue is another flag that you put, but this you're going to use this for the callback function. And the default error value, this is whereby if someone tries to import a value that's not supported, you'll give them this error. So for the default value is invalid choice, but you can always change and put, if your language, you're using a different language, you can also come and change the default error value. The show navigation, this is like when you have the menus down at the bottom, you can say, okay, I don't want to show navigation, or I show the navigation. That also depends on your style. Maybe we start and see how it works. So I'm going to create an application. So the app. And then let me just quickly. So I'm going to do the first one, just to show you how it's from the terminal. That's the menu. And you need now to, because this is the module, and you need now to set. So for this case, you say the name of the menu and the handler, which is this module. Then now you can come back. Let's do this. Parameter. So as you can see, you need the service code. For Kenyans, you know, this is like *544#. So depending on the service code that you have, and then this is the session ID. This is always given by the provider, gateway provider that you have, and depending on which gateway provider that you have, most values is always a blank string or the same session code. So you can do that, and then it will give you this, which is a okay tuple with a menu string and should close. I don't know. Do you get it? Or is there a question so far?
So no, I think I'm okay. Though What does this text represent? The steps you've made so far.
So when you're creating the menu, you need the init value, which is the first callback. This is the initial, it's more of the start, but like callback that will be invoked. So it will take the menu, you set the title. So for our case, you remember these are the allowed fields that you can set. So you say, okay, I'm going to set the title, which is welcome. And then I just pass it, I take the module itself and I say that's the handler. And then I say, okay, USSD, this is the menu, please take these values and give me the first, like just render for me the menu that I've provided. So it will give you the menu string, which is welcome here, and it will tell you it should close, which will be false. You can always change this should close. Just do the same thing. You say XSSD set should close to be true, and the value will be true here. So yeah, so this is the other example. Maybe when you're trying to do now a real simulation. For example, this for the African stocking. Remember the value should, if you want the menu to continue, you say con, and if you want it to end, you say end. So yeah, the same case, you just invoke and you just concatenate the strings. In case the session wants to, like you want to end on the, yeah, you just say you need to end on this session ID and it will close. So yeah, let's quickly go to the next menu on a simple menu list. Maybe it will be best if I just show you the example. Example. So I've already, I have the menus here. So for the first menu, which is a simple list. So for this case, we are saying, okay, I need a list of menus. The first, the title will be simple menu list. The first menu list will be product A, which will be to have this module as a callback. When you invoke it, we'll say, okay, selected product A. For product B, the same case, product C, the same case. And yeah, let's see on the simulation side. First close this. Or maybe I did show you how to, it's the same thing. This is a Phoenix application, as always. You just set the library here. And on your router, you just say simulator. Okay, the simulate, these are micro, and you put the routes, and then you say, okay, as you saw on the first example, you say XSD menu, the name, and the handler. For this handler, is this. This will be the first. It's just the same thing. It's, yeah. And you put the phone numbers. So for the phone numbers, you need to be able to, when you're testing the databases, you need to simulate for different numbers. So if you have multiple numbers, for example, the first client or the first number is not registered. So you select, you put the first number here. If you have another client that's already registered, you want to show that or simulate that, you put another. So this more for you to get on the callback or the response that you get back when you invoke from this, the API menus parameter. So, so this is it. I'll dial *44 hash call, and then this is the menu list. Click one. You see the list. So product A, product B, product C, If you go to product A, says selected product A. If you go back, and go to product B. So yeah, that's how you do the simple menu list. But someone will say, okay, I need a nested menu list. So when you want to do nested menu list, it's just the same thing, but now you're going to, instead of doing it on the first handler, just nest it on the menu that you want to have the menu list in. So in this case, I'll say product A is the first menu, and it will render this. It will invoke through this module, and then I'll say selected product A, and then the next menu is say product B, and this is the handler for product B. The same case, you say product C, select product C, and then render this. So to demonstrate for hash, remember this the nested. Go to 2. So as you see, this is the first menu. I need to go deep. This is the next menu. This is the other menu. And then this is the last menu. In case someone puts something that, okay, let me go back first. In case someone puts a menu that's not there, maybe 2, it will tell you invalid choice. Remember how you set this? You use default error menu. So you just come and say, okay, set menu, and you put your the value that you want as the error value. So yeah, you can always go back, and if you don't want 0 to be the value to go back, remember you can always set. You can say the name here. More if okay, for going back, you can put any name that you want in case it's a different language. So for Kiswahili, it's sema nyuma ama mbele. So you put here the name that you want and the value. So if you want, I know for Absa Bank, you put star. So you can put whatever value that you want as the one to go back. And the delimiter, as always, this is the style. This is the delimiter here, as you can see. So you can always put whatever style that you want for, yeah, in case it's different. So that's how you set the previous values and the next values. So yeah, let's go to the next section, which is in case I want to see if the response has succeeded or failed. How will I do that? So there's this callback to show you. It will give you a payload, which is, it will tell you, okay, this is the error. For example, let's say you want to implement a menu which you will check how many times the person has input the PIN, and you have you can only try 3 times. So you use this. You say navigation response, and you see if you get an error or an okay tuple. In case you get an error, always you know how to handle that, and then okay, you can check how many times the person has seen. But yeah, this is more of a in case you want to do, but it's not a must.
Lenny,
Yes.
I think I have one question. I don't know how they will handle. Let's say, okay, we've seen instances where if you have more than 160 characters, then your menu will overflow to the next page. Like Safaricom literally does that. So I don't know if you handle that as well.
I have not, because as you can see, these menus are the name value is dynamic. So if you put product A, product C, and in case you put something so long, so I will just let the gateway provider to handle that for you.
Okay.
Yeah, but but I'll show you another way that we do that for in case we need to have a different type of menu. So yeah, I'll go to the next menu, which is in case now you want to have a callback, you need to create this callback. For callback is more of a it's a validation menu. So For example, here I'm going to say, okay, these are the menu lists that I have. And you remember, if I put 4, if I put 5, it will throw me an error. So if I want to check before I throw the error, if the value is, maybe for this case, I'm saying it's 555, I'm going to say, okay, you have entered the secret number, and then the number is this. It should close. As you remember, this is the field that you set. It will be true, and you should always the other field that this is another flag that you need to put to continue, or in case it is not the value that you're looking for, you need to say, okay, this should continue should be false, and then it will continue the default error menu as always. Maybe I can try and show you that on the simulator. 544. So this is the simple callback, number 3. So yeah, so let me first put 4, which is not in the list. It will show me the default error, which is you have entered invalid choice. But in case I put 555, it will go to the next menu, which will tell me you have entered the secret number, which is 555. So this is more of a custom callback to handle your menu list. If someone puts a value that you want to handle for your for yourself, or a custom handling, for example, for the PIN, if you want to check the PIN, this is how you do it. You use the custom callback for the callback function. So yeah, I'll show you the next for this maybe a good example to show you how to do. For example, we're going to do a nested validation menu. The first menu will be, it will tell you, okay, enter your PIN number. And I'm assuming this is more of a bank situation. You can always come and do your customization here. You go to the database and check, okay, this value is this, the PIN that the customer set. And so yeah, how to use it? You say, is the value 321? If that's the case, you navigate now to this home menu. If that's not the case, you say error, wrong PIN, continue, false. So let's see that in the code. So this is the nested menu, go back. So enter your PIN, say do 222, which is not valid, to tell you wrong PIN number. And if I put 3421, it will go to the next menu. So this, like this, yeah, if you want, you have a menu that you need to do custom validation, or you need to check the values, this is how you do it. And remember, in case you have a payload, if this value is correct, if you have, maybe you need to pass down the name of the person, you can always come and say, okay, when you're navigating, please push down this data with the payload, the name, and the value, which is the name. So yeah, it take a map of anything that you want to push down. And with that, you can always come back at the data, and you can say, okay, welcome, John, welcome, Jane, welcome, whoever that you want to do, so that you don't have to do multiple callbacks for the same value. So this is how you do it. And this is how you, like, it's more of a data passing down the payload. And yeah, there's another function that you call, which is navigate, which will come back to this. So that's that for that. Maybe before I go to the dynamic menus, maybe someone has a question on that.
Yeah, I have a question.
Uh-huh.
I wanted to know what behavior I used for the handlers.
Maybe I can do that later, because we'll dig down into the code and see how it works.
Okay, all right, that's fine.
All right, I'm assuming there's no more questions. Okay, let's go to dynamic menus, USSD menus. For this, say for example, you need to call the database. you don't have the luxury of setting the values directly here. You need to, these values need to come from the database. So you can, these are list. You can do a for loop. You can do a map or a reduce. Like you just need to have a list of the menus. So you put the name here, for example, and because I didn't really do it dynamically, but yeah, you can always come and say, okay, this is the name that for that menu, and you can pass down the data, which is the payload. So I know the county code for Nairobi is 47, and the name is Nairobi. So this move at the payload, and you put the value here. And yeah, you can say the handler for this is the sub-county handler, and you put the orientation. So for orientation, you know, these menus are vertical, it goes down. So because we want to create a dynamic menu and we want the orientation to go down, so you say, okay, this for this orientation, say vertical, and you pass down the menus here. So it's a bit different. Is yeah, you put menus and handler and the orientation. It's just a bit different from whatever you're doing here. And you can also, yeah, it's the same thing. You say then, okay, then the title is list of counties. And once the person reaches this menu, it will just render this list. And if someone clicks on one, it will come to this module to handle. And yeah, you can always take the name and say, okay, I've reached Nairobi County. This is for Mombasa and this is for Kisumu. But you can create multiple dynamic menus. The same case we did here, you can come and, okay, I need now to go deeper. I need to get the sub locations. I need to check which constituencies. And you can create multiple dynamic menus. So this is how you do it. Let's see the example. So this is the dynamic vertical menus, number 5. Okay, number 1, which is the list of counties, and you see Nairobi, Kisumu, Mombasa. And if I want to go to Nairobi, it says Nairobi County. If I go back, go to Mombasa, yeah. But you can always create other dynamic menus. You know, for Kenyans, for example, when you want to register for, maybe you want to say you are from, where are you located? It will give you a list of menus, the counties, and then you go deep. Okay, which sub-location or which. So yeah, that's how you do the dynamic menus. And any question there? Okay.
Just one question. So if at all I choose, okay, the database, that map, that is all the details that are required if I choose, let's say, Nairobi.
Yes, but this data is optional, and it's available for every menu. Any place you see the handler, you can always put their data. So this payload is yeah, you can put any place you see handler, you can always take the data as payload, as we saw here as well. It's an optional flag. And yeah, you can pattern match once you pass it down. So yeah, I'll go to the next menu, which is the vertical menus.
Menu.
Yes.
I wanted to ask a question regarding the languages. So
Language. You're a bit low.
Sorry?
You're a bit low. I can't hear you well.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
So if at all I need people to select the languages that they want to use at the beginning, and then the menus will be in those languages, how are we going to handle that, or will it just be playing around with case closed?
Yeah, that's a nice question. I think you can, before you start the menu, you can always check for example, you want to say, okay, this is the beginning of the menu. Let's go back to the first menu here. I will check the phone number, which is available on this API parameter field. With that, I can go to the database and pull the user's preference. I say, okay, the person wants Kiswahili, wants Kikuyu. And then with that, I just pass down as a payload. So anywhere on your menus, you'll always check from the payload if that value is the language. But remember that that payload is just available for that menu. You need also to pass it down for subsequent menus that you want to set. Maybe that can be a request. You can say from the initial menu, this value doesn't change. But for now, once you pass it down, you need also to come back and pass the data again down to the next menu. It's more of props.
Okay. I also just maybe also another question. So you see, we're not keeping track of the previous steps, like the previous options that I've chosen.
We do keep track. For example, when you enter this, like for example, these are, say this is a banking system and someone says send money. When they go back, I don't want to call the function to render the menu again. I need to keep the state of the menu and save it to the next child. So if I go to the first menu, the previous menu is already saved on the back function. So when I go back, it will just render back the menu without really calling it. It will not invoke it.
I was asking in context that, let's say, I want to, there's a set of actions that I want to achieve if this person chose option 1, instant 1, option 2, spin 3, option 4, instant 4. So maybe if there was a way in which I could get 2 steps that they have taken, is there such a way at the moment?
I think you can get through the, where did I show you this navigation response? You can always keep that state for yourself, because I know it can be a bit too much when there are multiple users. So you can always check, okay, for number this, they succeeded on this menu. What is the input value that I got? So it will tell you the error and the API parameters, which includes the user input and their phone number. So yeah, you can always, if you want such functionality, you can always implement this or override this function. All right. So yeah, I'll go to the next menu, which is the horizontal menus. So this is one of the use cases which is a bit unique. Say, for example, someone comes to you and tell you, like, I need to create a USSD menu which it will give news or articles. The user wants to read articles. So, and as you know, the articles are a bit long. And you don't want to really show them the horizontal menus. You want it to be a bit vertical. So it's the same case here. You'll just say this is the payload that you're fetching from the database, which contains the title and the body, and it's a list. You map it through, and yeah, you say the title is the body, the title, and concatenate with the body. And you say the orientation now is horizontal. So with this, you can always come. Number 6. Say, okay, this is the BBC News. I want the news, maybe sports, lifestyle, breaking news, whatever menu that you have. Then go to the first one, or coronavirus updates, or I don't know, whatever you fancy. And then this the values that you get. And for these values, it's always truncated after 140 characters. So if you have more than that, it will truncate automatically here. So that's how you do it. And if you want to go to the next menu, just say 98. Show you the next menu. If you want really to go to the value itself, just put it and it will go. If you want to go back to 1, yeah. So if you, for example, someone comes and say a value that is not there, maybe 5, it will tell you value choice, go back, and it will give it back to the last menu. Yeah, so that's for horizontal menus. You can always come and implement more. Yeah, that's it. As I showed you how to do the simulator, you just put the simulate and the route that you want to push. You say the menu and the list of numbers. So for example, how to show you, for example, I want to call this menu with the first phone number, which I've already set here, this. Then it will take this as when you are like, once this phone number will be available from this API parameter. If you want a different number, you can come and check. I think this is mostly one of the challenges I was having when I was trying to test and demonstrate the use cases. How do you do for persons who have paid? How do you do for persons who have not paid? How do you render for different use, like you want to show menus for people who have logged in and people who have not logged in? How do you do that? So yeah, this is one of, like, I think this is a nice way of doing it. You can always choose the phone number that you want the payload to include. So yeah, that's how you do it. And yeah, that's the library.
Wow.
Yeah.
You really done a great job here.
Yeah.
Anybody with an extra question?
Maybe to answer the question that I was asked before, I don't remember his name.
Or about the callbacks?
Yes. So this is how you call the callbacks. So the value will be available at the handler, which is the strap. Maybe I can show you first the strap, how it is. The strap value. So when you pass it down, when you say this is the handler, it will come back and be set here. So with that, you can come and check. You take the handler, you say this is the handler, and it has the init function, and it takes 2 parameters, which is the main itself and the API parameters. In case the person has not set the callback, I will check, okay, is the function exported with the callback function with the hierarchy of 2? And then if that's the case, I'll just apply and bring them in. In case it's not, I will just say nil, which already this value I'll be checking from the navigation module how to do that. And the same case for the navigation response. I will say if the person has set, I will just call. In case it's not set, it will invoke whatever is already set here, which is overridable. So if you don't put it, I'll just call this. If you put, then it will call your function. But that's not necessary if you don't want.
Okay, so basically you're saying the user is the one who gets to decide the behavior of the callback and which whatever type of behavior they want to use for the callback module.
Yeah. So if you want to use the callback function, you put. If you don't want, it will just run. But this is a must. You need to put the init, because this is like the first. This will be called first, and then this next, and then this to just show you the response.
But what kind of behavior do you often use yourself? What kind of behavior do you use for the screens? So like maybe your one screen with all the buttons, what kind of behavior do you often use? Do you use a gen server or a statement or those other ones?
We use registry because we are taking session which is a string, and it's always changing. So yeah, we pass down the session ID, and with that now you can do the same. Like it's more of gen server with the name, which is the session ID, and you cannot come back and close it. If you want to stop it, you just shut it down.
Okay. Okay. Thank you.
Maybe another interesting thing about this project, as maybe I can show you the list of things that I am having. The dependencies, as you can see, there's no Phoenix library, but we are using Phoenix Live View. So to do this, it's a bit different. It's similar to the live dashboard. So yeah, if you go and check it, you can see how you do the simulation. It's more of a micro, which is simulates. I take the options which you pass it down here, and then I say, okay, if you find this, go to the slash, which will just concatenate or route it to, as you know how Phoenix works. This the root, and then it puts whatever as the previous value. And then I just check if the phone number is there and if the menu is there, and then it will render the layout. And with that layout, I can always come back and render the live view module. Maybe I can show you this there. This is how I do it. Maybe it's not up to date. I'm not a CSS person, but you can always come back and check how it works. So this is the module. In case you don't need this, you can just check it out, remove this, and the library will still work. It's more of an add-on. And the layout is this. You pass down the raw values, and the rest of them are just in the assets. So that's how you do it.
That's interesting. So thank you, Lenny. That was a great job.
Yeah, but feel free if you want to really. I know my CSS, as you can see, is the majority. I'm just exporting Tailwind as it is, so I need some help there. You can check the assets and yeah, help me there. Maybe the design, if you want to really check, yeah, there's some, as you can see, maybe it's moving. I don't know what's happening there. So CSS guys, please.
Okay. So those people like.
All right.
I think now that is your call. Okay.
All right. Thanks.
So thank you, Lenny. Another thing that I wanted us to discuss was, I think it was triggered actually. If you attended the Elixir conference, that is Africa version, the Elixir Outlook podcast. You remember basically was just saying that they always just meet and then they talk about some random stuff, and then the discussion just continues out of nowhere. So I was thinking maybe we could also start doing the same. So during every meeting, to just come in, somebody who maybe has a topic for the following week and just come up and say, okay, I have something that we can discuss next week. And then he or she becomes the host. Oh, can't hear you. Okay, can you hear me now? Okay. So I was saying, maybe we could start having some random discussions every Monday, so that we can make it interesting. So we don't always just talk about the projects and whatever we are doing internally. This is also a good chance for those people who maybe they are still afraid to post, or maybe to talk in front of crowd, stuff like that. So maybe next week somebody can say, okay, I would like to post next week with that, and then we come up with something that we can talk about. Oh, okay. Oh yes. Just be reminded to talk about it.
Okay, well, for the record, this is not me.